Ladies and gentlemen, you might not know a lot about me, but one thing you should know is that when I was a kid, a little younger than you, maybe quite a bit younger than you, I wanted to be a magician in the worst way. Isn't that the coolest job in the world?
Yes.
And you know, you go to scout camp and you get taught a trick or two, and it's just thrilling, and you go home and you're so excited to dazzle all your friends with your magic prowess. And then you find out that really your magic tricks at that age only work for everyone who's younger than you. You go to show your older brother or something, do they ever buy your tricks? No, you do some really cool thing like, what, brother? I'm going to put this going behind my ear and it's out of your ear. He's like, that's just dumb. You had it under your hand all the time. Yeah, that's right. But after all those years, I think I've become a wonderful, wonderful magician. And I have up here, this has holes in it, doesn't it? It's like, that was the better side right there. Big basket of red paint. Right there, right there. I filled it up while you were at recess. Don't bring red paint to school. It would really mess up the floor. But I have a basket of red paint. I also have brought today what I'm going to nickname the 3-year-old cube. I like that. Andy's up here whispering, I made that. Andy made this. Can we give Andy a round of applause? He made a beautiful cube. I call it my 3-year-old cube because it has the dimensions of 3 by 3 by 3. So really it's a 3 by 3 by 3 cube. But I think in this class it's going to be a little quicker to use a nickname called the 3-year-old cube. Technically it's the 3 by 3 by 3. Can we feel good about that?
Yes.
Alrighty, I'm going to take my 3-year-old cube and I'm going to throw it in my bucket of red paint. What's going to happen to it? It's going to do what? You ready? Okay, ready? And drop it in the red paint. Ta-da!
Yes, you should clap.
Come on, guys! Ta-da! Is that cool? No, because someone else is here like, I made the red one. Who made, was it? Mia made the red one. Okay. So, the idea is, if we were to take something nice and clean, my 3-year-old cube, and drop it into a bucket of red paint, you didn't need to see the magic trick. You knew it was going to happen. You said, oh, it'll all be in red. And sure enough, we're pretending, but that's what happened. It made this whole cube in red. Almost. Now, if we really dropped it in red paint, I'd have red here where you see it. I'd have red here where you see it, here, here, here. All these places you see. Where would this cube not be red? Think about that. Where would this cube not be red? There's one word I think that describes where it would not be red, and I want to hear you say it on the count of 3. Where would it not be red? 1, 2, 3. Most kind of said the same thing in a different version. Inside. Am I right? The red paint would get on all the surface, but nothing inside would have gotten red paint. Right? Theoretically. Now, we're pretending anyway. Inside, no red paint. Well, I have a big question for you today. This cube, that's my 3 by 3 by 3 cube, has a whole bunch of smaller cubes made up. In fact, I'm going to go back to my white one that we haven't dropped in the paint yet. If I pull one of these off, you can see, oh, yeah, a 3 by 3 by 3 cube is made up of these smaller cubes. 3 on my width, 3 on my height, and 3 on my length. 3 by 3 by 3. How many cubes does it actually take to make my 3-year-old cube, or 3 by 3 by 3 cube? How many does it take? I want you to think. Don't say it out loud. Sorry, I should have said that. Think about this. Think about this. I'm looking at my clock. I'm actually going to give you 20 seconds to whisper to anyone who's at your table. It has to be someone at your table, and tell what you think it is. For 20 seconds, go. Just whisper. Don't let the tables next to you hear. How many cubes are in here? If I broke this up, how many little cubes are there? Oh, I haven't asked that. That's not. Give us a few moments before we tackle that question. Oh, I've got 10 seconds. I already got a table I know is ready. Maybe 2 back there. On the count of 3, I want you to tell me what you think. How many little cubes it takes. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
27!
If a little bit of dissonance, that means a few different people saying different things. I think most said 27. That's correct. If I break this up and count the white ones, and if you don't trust me, when you get a cube like this, go ahead and break it up and count. There are 27 here. Those of you who are really familiar with math formulas have learned you can find out the volume of any rectangular prism by actually taking the width, the length, and the height and multiplying them together. So if it's a 3 times a 3, 9, times a 3 it is, 1, 2, 3.
27.
You've got 27 little cubes here. Now, I've dropped it in the paint. Bloop, bloop, comes out and it's red. Now I have 27 red cubes, right? Not quite. They're not red everywhere, are they? Every one of these cubes has a different amount of red paint on it. Some have 3 faces with red paint on them. Some have 2 faces with red paint on. Some have 1. There's even some that have no faces with red paint. Now I want to do a quick time out and discuss what I mean by a face. What in the world do I mean by a face? Let me show you. A face is the nice flat plane on any rectangular prism. That's the face. Looking at this and thinking of any rectangular prisms you've had familiar with or experience with, I want you to think how many faces are on a cube. I know I heard that question over here when we were discussing the last one. How many faces are on a cube? You've got 20 seconds. Turn to anyone at your table, no one else. 20 seconds. Discuss that. How many faces, how many flat planes are there on any cube? I see a few not visiting with someone else. I assume it's because they're pretty confident in their answer. Come right back to me. Show me you're ready by finishing that conversation and voice off. On the count of 3, I want every single person to show me on your fingers. That gives you a hint. It's less than 10. How many faces does a cube have? 1, 2. Most hands I see look like this. And if you're used to playing games like Monopoly, then you've got a little experience in this because a die, we usually say dice because there's almost always 2, right? But a die has 6 numbers on it because it's a cube with exactly 6 faces. So you're right, there are 6 faces to this. Now, I want to discuss if I were to break this apart and start to look inside here, how many of these 27 cubes that make up my 3-year-old cube have 3 faces touching red paint, 2 faces with red paint, and 1 face with red paint. The task. Using a 3x3x3 cube, discover how many of the 27 subcubes have 3 faces touching the surface, 2 faces touching the surface, 1 face touching the surface, and no faces touching the surface. Each face on the surface of the cube will have red paint on it after being dropped in the bucket of paint. Each face not on the surface will not have red paint on it after being dropped in the bucket of paint.
What's your job right now?
To kind of see how many faces, how many are 3 faces, how many are 2 faces, and how many 1 face, the colors.
On what?
On the cube.
And how big was the cube?
3 by 3 dimensional.
Now this one I want you to think again before you say it. Wait till I put my hand down on this one. On this cube, what color of cube has 1 face touching the surface? What color of cube has 1 face touching the surface? 1, 2, 3. Orange. Can you see them right there? The oranges are color-coded as such because they're the only ones that have 1 face touching the surface. Only 1 face. So that question that says 1 face is really asking you, on this cube, how many oranges are there? The last one says 0 faces. Okay, think about it. What color cube has 0 faces touching the surface? 1, 2, 3. No one knows, right? Can we break it open? Should we see? Pause the video here until you have adequately tackled the task on your own. I just borrowed Mia's, and this looks like a lot of yours, but it's a great example. She's gone ahead, and rather than building the blocks, which she can't do much for the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old cubes anyways, there's just too many cubes. She's gone ahead and started to color code it like the cubes we used for an example, and I think I've seen a lot of you do the same. She even put a key here, and it doesn't look at here really well, but that was orange. So she colored all of the cubes that have 3 faces touching the surface orange. She did that, and she's even put down the number of how many she thinks there are. 8. 2 faces, she didn't color this one, but I can see she did red for those. And 1 face, she did yellow. And she's done her counting there. I'm not going to say right now that she's right or wrong. I'm just going to give that as an example. Now, I have the document here. It's the same as yours, but on the computer I was able to actually color them with the computer color. It was really fast because I didn't have to do it that way. But you can see the same idea going here. My cubes with 3 faces touching, I did in what color?
Yellow.
I did in what color?
Yellow.
The ones with 2 faces, I did in what color?
Red.
And the one with 1 face, I did in?
Blue.
I didn't color anything with the other, the 0 faces. But what's also fun on here, I just got to show it to you because it's such a blast. I actually had to build this on the computer just like you had to. Can you see how I can even move them out? And when I move them out, inside there's the white one.
Finally, repeat the task for a 4x4x4 cube, 5x5x5 cube, 6x6x6 cube, 7x7x7 cube, and an n by n by n cube.